In this video, I'm going to be beating Pokemon Crystal with only a Lapras. I'm trying to see how fast it can beat the game, and today I actually think this thing might be able to put in a legendary tier performance. No, I am not kidding. It might be as fast as Lugia and Ho-oh. When I played the game with those box art legendaries back in March 2022, Ho-oh eventually earned a time of 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 5 seconds of real time spent when playing the game at 4 times speed. Lugia, on the other hand, was slightly slower, clocking in with a time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 22 seconds. So those are the fastest 2 times in Pokemon Crystal on my channel to date. But this week and next week, I am going to see if I can beat that time with 2 incredibly powerful Pokemon. So today, it's time to use Lapras. So why is this thing so good? After all, its base stats are kind of middle of the road. It has 130 HP, 60 speed, 85 attack and special attack, 80 defense, and 95 special defense. Strangely enough, every time I see Lapras, I actually think like, this Pokemon must have a lot of defense. It has a shell. Actually, its defense stat is one of its worst stats, outside of its speed, of course. So what things give this prehistoric sea monster the potential to be a top performer? Well, it basically comes down to its move pool. Lapras starts with Water Gun, Growl, and Sing. Also, it has a great back sprite, which is very helpful in a playthrough like this because I have to stare at it all the time. It just makes my day a little bit brighter when the back sprite is like, mwah, good job, chef's kiss. Through level up, it learns Mist, Body Slam, Confuse Ray, Perish Song, Ice Beam, Rain Dance, Safeguard, and Hydro Pump. Through TM and HM, it gets access to Headbutt, Curse, Zap Cannon, Hidden Power, Blizzard, Hyper Beam, Icy Wind, Rain Dance, Iron Tail, Dragon Breath, Thunder, Return, Psychic, Rest, Nightmare, Surf, Strength, Whirlpool, and then finally through Tutors, it gets access to Ice Beam and Thunderbolt. So Lapras has pretty good coverage, and water and ice moves are just great, especially when both of them get the same type attack bonus. If you look in the top left, you can see that my water gun's effective power has been multiplied by 1.5. This gives us an estimate on what its damage will be like against the opponents. For Lapras, I replaced Totodile so that the rival would pick Chikorita. After all, in the first battle, this is going to be very annoying because I have to knock this grass type out with Water Gun. It's going to take a while here, but Lapras has a lot of HP, so as a result, the Chikorita can't really threaten me. With him out of the way, my journey has officially started. So let's start unwrapping why Lapras has the potential to be such a top performer. But just before we start doing that, I want to mention the rules for this playthrough. They're listed in the description, by the way, but in short, they are: I can only use my starter in battle, I can't use any items in battle except held items, I can't use any glitches or exploits, and I can't use the TM for double team until my Pokemon's level 100. After all, that move's really boring. So now let me examine one of Lapras's weaknesses, and that's the fact that it has a slow growth rate. As a result, in the early game, I'm going to be knocking out every wild Pokemon I come across, and I'm also going to fight every trainer that's available to me, even the optional ones. By the time I reach Violet City, my Lapras is only level 8. Normally, I like to fight Falkner around level 11 to 13, but today I'm going to have to fight him at a much lower level, and that's because I don't want to go into Sprout Tower to fight the Bellsprout there. After all, the Ice type doesn't resist the Grass type, and all the Bellsprout have Vine Whip, so Lapras is going to take super effective damage from them. Additionally, knocking out more grass types with Water Gun just doesn't seem like a good idea, so the only choice ahead for me is to go to Falkner's gym and defeat the Bird Keepers here. That levels Lapras up to level 9, and with that, I'm ready for the first gym. Falkner leads with Pidgey, and it's only going to use Tackle here because of my typing. After all, Tackle gets the same type attack bonus while Mudslap doesn't, so that's why it's only using this move. My Water Gun knocks it out in 2 hits, and then I move on to the Pidgeotto. In this case, we're actually speed tied, and Falkner's Ace is only going to use Gust, again because this move is going to do the most damage. However, in this case, Lapras' enormous health means it doesn't take a high percentage of damage from each hit, and because of that, I'm able to knock it out, earning myself the first badge. Alright, so this is the first advantage that Lapras is going to get. Falkner's badge boosts the player's Pokemon's attack stat by 12.5%. You can see this boost is being applied by looking in the bottom left and seeing the faint little badge icon by the attack label. Also just know at all times this boost is calculated into the stats displayed in the bottom left. And we can see that because Lapras's attack base stat and special attack base stat are tied, but in this case, my attack stat is now 3 points higher than my special attack stat. On Route 32, this isn't benefiting me immediately. I am doing extra training here so that I can level up. After all, again, I'm a slow growth rate Pokemon, and these Pokemon tend to struggle in challenges, so I really have to compensate for that. However, this attack boost is really going to start to help once Lapras learns Body Slam at level 15. So my goal needs to be to get that move as soon as possible. In Union Cave, I continue my training by knocking out the 2 Hikers Pokemon. After all, it's easy and fast experience. After that, I fight the 2 Fire Breathers in the cave, and I'm going to skip Swift today. After all, Lapras can't learn it. Outside the cave, I fight Hiker Anthony. Now, he's a bit worrying because he does have a Machop that knows Low Kick. However, when it hits Lapras, it doesn't do very much damage and I take it out on the next turn. Okay, so it's time to defeat the Rockets and Slowpoke well. And here is where Lapras learns Body Slam. I teach it in the place of Growl because modifying the opponent's stats is really not something I want to do. And I know Sing has 55 accuracy, but like it could be used as a measure of last resort and like maybe Mist will be important. So Growl's the worst move and now I have Body Slam. Because of my boosted attack, Body Slam's base 85 power and its 30% chance to paralyze. This is now going to be my go-to move. I guess it's sort of fitting. If you don't know, in solo challenges in Generation 1, Body Slam is like the go-to move in almost every playthrough. So it's fitting that I have a Generation 1 Pokemon in Generation 2, and that has also imported the move Body Slam into this game. So let's see if this powerful new move helps me against Bugsy. He leads with Metapod. Because it has much higher defense than it has special defense, I use Water Gun on it and knock it out over 2 turns. Next is Kakuna. It's the same situation here, so I also prioritize Water Gun, knocking it out in 2 turns. Last is Scyther. It moves first, getting a critical hit with Fury Cutter, but it doesn't do very much damage. Body Slam hits, and it does about 1/3. Scyther's next Fury Cutter still does very little damage. My Body Slam takes it to orange health, causes paralysis, and as a result, Lapras moves first and knocks Bugsy's ace out. So that's it. An easy second gym victory for Lapras. But as I try to make it to the forest, I'm going to have to fight the rival, and this could be one of the trickiest spots for Lapras to deal with. After all, the rival's Chikorita has evolved into a Bayleaf, and it knows Razor Leaf, which is a 55 base power move that has a high crit rate. He also leads with Ghastly, and this thing can get really annoying with status conditions. I have to use Water Gun to knock it out. Ghastly goes for Lick, and are you kidding me? It paralyzes me on the first turn? I knock it out and move on to the Bayleaf, but then on the first turn it's in battle, it gets a critical hit with Razor Leaf. Just great. My Body Slams look like they're going to be a 3-hit. It hits me with 1 more Razor Leaf, Paralysis prevents my move, and then its 3rd Razor Leaf gets a crit. So that's my first reset. Okay, this fight isn't going to be that hard if I'm just not paralyzed. This time the Ghastly puts me to sleep, which actually isn't that bad because then Lick can't paralyze me and it only can deal damage with this move, so once I wake up I knock it out and move on to the Bayleaf. I go for Body Slam, doing a 3rd, it strikes back with Razor Leaf, not getting a crit this time. My next Body Slam takes it to orange health and also causes paralysis, and just like in the Bugsy fight, I outspeed on the next turn and knock it out. All that's left is Zubat, and obviously this thing isn't very good, it just misses a Supersonic and then I knock it out. So I've defeated the rival and I'm moving on towards Goldenrod City. But there's a couple of things to do before I get there. In the forest, I pick up the TM for Headbutt, and I teach it to Lapras in the place of Sing. I know this move isn't as powerful as Body Slam, but the 30% chance to flinch that it provides could be useful against Whitney to break Rollout's combo. After all, just paralyzing the Pokemon with Body Slam isn't a guarantee that Rollout stops hitting, and so in that instance, rolling for a 30% chance to flinch would be a better choice if Lapras is outspeeding. However, with 32 speed currently, it's not looking like I'm going to outspeed Whitney's cow, so I'll probably need to cause paralysis first so that I can move first with Headbutt and cause the flinch. Also, just deleting Sing is a good idea because then I won't be tempted to use it. Outside of the forest, I fight some trainers for some additional experience. Also, I'm noticing that it's really good to fight Camper Todd, just so when I backtrack here to grab a rare candy and a nugget later on in the playthrough, I won't have to dodge him through the grass patch. If I do that, it always takes a little bit extra time, and I might as well just do the training now and prevent resets later on. I heal in the Poke Center, this sets my waypoint here. Then I head to the underground where I defeat all the trainers and grab the coin case. I also give Lapras a stylish haircut. I don't know how this works. Doesn't look like Lapras has any hair at all. After that, I purchase myself an Abra so that I can use teleport throughout the playthrough, and then I head north, picking up Kenya on the way. On Route 35, I defeat the spinning trainers so I don't bump into them when I backtrack through this area later on in the game. And then I head into Whitney's gym. Let's see if Lapras can do it. She leads with Clefairy. I go for Body Slam, it causes paralysis, and then the cute pink fairy strikes back with Double Slap, doing very little before I knock it out. Okay, time for Miltank. It outspeeds, after all it has 48 speed and I only have 40 speed. It hits Rollout, which starts setting up its combo. I try Headbutt, but obviously I'm moving second, so this isn't helping. And unfortunately, I switch into Body Slam too late, Rollout's gained too much power, and it knocks me out. Alright, so let's try that again. I make it back to the Miltank with green health. This time it goes for Stomp first turn, which is strange. I try Body Slam, it's doing about a quarter, and then the cow starts to roll. I take it to half, Rollout builds power, taking Lapras to 27 hit points, but then my third Body Slam paralyzes, and this gives Lapras the ability to outspeed and knock Miltank out. Lapras levels up, I teach it Confuse Ray in the place of Mist, and with that I've earned myself the third badge. This one gives Lapras a boost to its speed stat, and here I get one of the other major advantages that Lapras is going to have in putting in an absolutely outstanding performance in this game. I get a 12.5% boost to all normal type attacks. So if we look in the top left now, we can see that the effective power of Body Slam is now 96. With a 30% chance to paralyze, that is just outstanding. Zap Cannon is definitely jealous. And it's obviously infomercial o'clock because the good things do not stop there for Lapras. Water Gun gives it an easy way to defeat the Sudowoodo, which I make myself fight every time I do a first playthrough with a Pokemon. After all, it's just more fun this way. And then in Ecruteak City, after I defeat all of the Kimono girls, I receive HM03, which is Surf. And with the same type attack bonus, this move has an effective power of 142.5. However, I'm not quite done building out Lapras's moveset yet. I head to the Lake of Rage to pick up the TM for Hidden Power. On my way, I grab a rare candy, and now I should explain how I manage Hidden Power in these challenges. Within Crystal, I only allow myself to manipulate the starter Pokemon. That means I can set its DVs to whatever values I want them to be. DVs are the Generation 2 equivalent to IVs. So in this case, I set my attack DV to 12, and all my other DVs to 15. What this means is that Hidden Power is a base 70 power ground type move for Lapras. I picked this one specifically because it helps Lapras cover two of its weaknesses, the weakness to rock type Pokemon as well as the weakness to electric type Pokemon. After all, Lapras has 4 weaknesses, and the only 2 remaining ones are fighting and grass. Lapras's ice typing gives it coverage against grass Pokemon, and the fighting type trainers are not that good. Like, Chuck is annoying with status conditions, and Bruno is a lot harder than he is in Generation 1, but still, I'm not terrified of him. Red and Blue do not have powerful fighting type Pokemon, so I felt like that was the best type to skip over in terms of coverage. Now here I'll mention something about my routing that I've really improved lately in Generation 2. Instead of immediately fighting the rival and then Morty, I can instead go and clear out all the trainers on the next 2 routes. This allows me to pick up a Mint Berry for Morty, as well as a Nugget, and then I can use Abra to teleport back to Ecruteak City to waste the least possible time walking. By ordering events this way, I'm able to get to level 25 before I face the rival in Burned Tower. And this is important because of damage rounding. So the way it works is when your Pokemon's level ends in 0, 3, 5, or 8, it's doing significantly more damage than it was at the previous level. And so basically, the level that you put into the calculation has to get you to the next integer. If it doesn't, it just gets truncated off, and that results in these weird damage rounding thresholds, which, by the way, have never been fixed even today in the series. So yeah, very weird that this still sticks around. Because of the moveset I've built out, I have good moves against all of the rivals Pokemon except the Bayleaf. I have to use Body Slam on it. In this case, Bayleaf goes for Reflect first turn, improving its defenses. That allows it to survive 3 more Body Slams, but I do paralyze it, and as a result, I knock it out without taking a single hit point of damage. Because Lapras is building so much momentum, I'm going to skip the one optional trainer in Morty's gym. I don't actually know if everyone knows that this trainer is optional. I didn't know that they were optional until I started playing these challenges and people started mentioning it in the comments. I do read them all. After all, you've helped me improve my play so much. Before Morty, I give Lapras the Mint Berry, and now I'm ready to go. Ghastly's first. I go for Hidden Power Ground, and it knocks it out in a single hit, so I avoided Curse. But the second Haunter could curse me too. I use Hidden Power, cross my fingers, and it knocks the Haunter out as well. Alright, so I'm not getting cursed today. Next is Gengar, it outspeeds, uses Hypnosis, my Mint Berry cures it, and then my Hidden Power knocks it out in a single hit. I did not expect that. Alright, I sweep through his final Haunter, and with that I've earned myself the Fog Badge. Olivine City is next, and there's a lot of errands to do here. I pick up the Good Rod, buy Super Repels, grab the Strength HM, and then I catch myself a Krabby so that I can use HMs. In the Lighthouse, I fight all but one trainer. There's actually one guy with a Krabby that you have to go quite out of your way to get to, so I just skip him today. After all, I don't have super effective damage against water types. The reason I'm doing all this training is Lapras learns Ice Beam at level 36. While its base power is the same as Surf, Ice Beam has a distinct advantage over water type moves in Generation 2, and I'm going to mention that very soon. But for now, we have to say thank you to Dennis. After all, Dennis is a longtime supporter of the channel who comments on all of my videos. So yeah, go find his comment in the comments and comment on it, writing Dennis. I surf across the sea, grab the secret potion, heal Lapras, and then I head into Chuck's gym. Now I really need to talk about my decision to come here. I truly believe that Lapras has the potential to be a top tier Pokemon in Generation 2, and as a result I can't be wandering around the overworld without Fly for too long. So because this is only my first playthrough, I am going to do a follow-up, I always do in Generation 2. I'm going to chance it now and try to defeat Chuck. I was a little bit worried about the trainers in his gym. After all, the first ones I call the tag team trainers because they both fight you one after another. After that, you have to fight Knob, and his Machoke is quite powerful, but in this case, Lapras makes it through without any issues. For this fight, I decided to give it a berry. After all, I consumed my mint berry during the fight with Morty. So now, let's see if I can beat the fighting type gym leader. Chuck leads with Primeape. I go for Body Slam, it does more than half, causing paralysis, and then Chuck misses a Leer and I knock his lead out. Poliwrath's next. I go for Body Slam first, and I get very lucky here because it causes paralysis. As a result, the Poliwrath can't attack. I go for Body Slam again, taking it to orange health. Poliwrath uses Mind Reader, taking aim, improving its accuracy. By the way, in these games, on all status moves, the AI has a 25% chance to miss, and Mind Reader does not get around this. So if Poliwrath goes for Hypnosis, it still could miss. My next Body Slam takes the Poliwrath to red health, but instead of choosing Hypnosis, it uses Dynamic Punch. Okay, Lapras should survive one of those. Oh, great, it gets a critical hit. Alright, so that's my third reset. But in the next fight, it's time for Lockie's revenge, because my Body Slam gets a critical hit on the Primeape and I knock it out in a single hit. Poliwrath's next. I use Body Slam, it takes aim with Mind Reader, my next Body Slam takes it to orange health, and then it puts Lapras to sleep with Hypnosis. Oh, great. Its first Dynamic Punch misses, its second Dynamic Punch misses, its third Dynamic Punch also misses. This move is awful, by the way. I am so glad that I don't really have to use it in any playthroughs. Its fourth Dynamic Punch misses. Okay, so is it going to hit even once? Yes, it is. It hits Lapras once, but that only takes me down to half health. Sleep wears off, I hit myself in confusion unfortunately, Poliwrath takes aim with Mind Reader, I recover health with a berry, hit myself again, and here, Hypnosis misses. You see, it is possible. After that, I hit myself one more time, and then Poliwrath puts me back to sleep. Okay, are you kidding me? This is not going well. Maybe I should have defeated Price first and just wandered around the overworld. Okay, but Chuck makes a bad play here. He goes for Mind Reader and then follows it up with Surf. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Don't go for a Mind Reader when I'm asleep and you're out of Dynamic Punch PP. It hits me with another Surf, taking Lapras down to 15 health, and then I wake up. But I'm still confused. However, Lapras manages to move through it, hit the Poliwrath, and it gets a critical hit, knocking it out. Alright, so that Chuck fight, I can't tell if it was lucky or unlucky. There's lots of parts that feel very lucky and lots of parts that feel really unlucky. At least I get to move on and proceed with the playthrough. And now I have Fly, which is going to enable me to pick up some really key items for Lapras. First, I go to Route 29 and grab the Pink Bow, which will improve the damage of Body Slam. Next, I head to Cherry Grove City and pick up the Mystic Water, which is going to improve the damage that Surf has. Then, I fly to Violet City and pick up Escape Ropes. After all, these are going to be useful for escaping many locations in the future. And then I surf across this little pond and pick up a rare candy. Might as well do that now while I'm here. Next, I go to Goldenrod City where I surf south, picking up a nugget, and then I continue surfing south to this little beach area with 3 cool trainers. I defeat them all and earn Lapras the Soft Sand, which will improve Hidden Powers damage. But the awesome items don't end there. I fly back to Goldenrod City, sell the nuggets, and purchase 3 calciums for Lapras. After that, I pick up the TM for return, and finally after all of this, my errands are done and I can head to the Lake of Rage. I defeat the Red Gyarados, and then crush my way through the Rocket plotline. At the very end of all of this, Lapras finally levels up to 36, and it earns Ice Beam. Now I'm sure many of you are like, please Scott, don't say that the advantage that Ice Beam has is that it can freeze the opponent's Pokemon, because that only happens 10% of the time. And yes, you are right. I do think in some of my challenges, I am over-prioritizing the chance to freeze, but in this case, that is not the advantage. Look in the top left, with the Mystic Water, Surf has 157 effective power, and Ice Beam has 143 effective power. So it's not better than Surf right now, but that's all going to change very soon, because the next gym leader that I choose to defeat is Price. He leads with Seal. I go for Body Slam, it just doesn't barely knock it out. I get hit with Icy Wind, lowering my speed, and then I knock his lead out. Next is Dugong, and I'm able to knock it out with 2 Body Slams and move on to his ace, Piloswine. Because this thing is a ground type, I use Surf, which does super effective damage, and knocks it out in a single hit. So that was an easy gym victory, and it provides Lapras with a major advantage. Number 1, it boosts my special attack stat by 12.5%, but it also boosts the power of Ice-type moves by 12.5%. And now, even with the Mystic Water, Ice Beam has more effective power than Surf. So at this point in the playthrough, it's going to be the best move for me to use against opponents. Next, I decide to face Jasmine. I have Hidden Power Ground for her 2 Magnemites, so I get 1-shots there, and I move on to the Steelix. Now Steel doesn't resist water, as a result Surf is super effective, and I knock the Steelix out in a single hit. With that, Lapras has essentially earned its final boost to its defense stat. If you look at the bottom left, you'll also notice that my special defense doesn't appear to be being boosted right now, and that is intentional by me, but not by the game developers. There is actually a glitch that causes your special defense to not be boosted in some circumstances, and yeah, it's probably not going to get boosted at all today, because my unboosted special attack stat would need to be above 205. Alright, it's time for the Rocket plotline, let's do this. This is a very boring section of the game, and it's exceptionally boring for Lapras because it just one-hits everything. Like, there are no challenges here. The guy on the top floor who has all the coughing and the wheezing, sometimes these get annoying with like smoke screen, and then the wheezing uses explosion. Nope, I can just defeat them all with ease today. In the underground, I have to fight the rival. His whole team is bad now. I just sweep through it. That's easy. I do go to the department store, buy some more vitamins, and then I proceed with the plot line. And the second Rocket Executive is no harder than the first. He actually has Fire-type Pokemon, so he's even worse, actually. And with that, I get to go to Ice Path. And here, once again, Lapras gets another advantage, because now, Ice Beam, which was already the most powerful move, is going to become even more powerful, because it gets the Never Melt Ice. So remember when I said its chance to freeze isn't something that I'm considering? Well, yeah, I am considering it. Ice Beam is just already better, even without considering it. So yeah, like, I can't believe that Surf is not the best move with a water Pokemon that I'm using in one of these playthroughs. It's pretty weird when you get to Ecruteak City, and you can learn this HM, and you're like, yeah, this move is only going to be useful for some amount of time. Eventually there's going to be a move that's much better. And that's also very timely, because the next gym leader that I have to face is Claire, and she is a Dragon type user. So let's do this. Obviously, Lapras 1 hits the first Dragonair, Lapras 1 hits the second Dragonair, Lapras also 1 hits the third Dragonair, like what did you expect? Kingdra's next. Now its water type resists ice moves, but its dragon type does not, so these do neutral damage to it. As a result, Ice Beam takes it to red in 1 hit. It gets healed with a Hyper Potion, and then I knock it out. So yeah, Claire, really easy. Now I just want to pause and mention one of the small improvements to my routing that I made in this playthrough specifically. This is the first time I did it. If while I'm collecting items that boost the power of various moves, like the Pink Bow and the Soft Sand, I also route in the Fly Point to Violet City to pick up the escape ropes, then when I'm in the Dragon's Den, I can use them to escape very quickly, which is what I do here today. After that, I head to the Whirl Islands to pick up a rare candy, as well as Mount Mortar, because there's one more rare candy in here. And with that, I'm ready to head to Kanto to face the League. In my way is the rival, but what do you expect? I one-hit the Sneasel with Surf, one-hit the Magneton with Hidden Power, one-hit the Haunter with Hidden Power, one-hit the Kadabra with Hidden Power, one-hit the Meganium with Ice Beam. It did get a critical hit, I guess. And then I one-hit the Ace Golbat with Ice Beam as well. So yeah, Lapras is ready for the league. Let's do this. Will is first, and he leads with Xatu. I go for Ice Beam, it's super effective, and it knocks it out in one hit. Jinx is next, I should use a physical move here, so I go for Body Slam, and it knocks it out in one hit. Executor's next, Ice Beam's super effective, it one hits. Alright, I see a trend, but Slowbro is going to break this trend because this thing is so bulky. I knock it out over 5 turns with Body Slam, and then Will sends in his slightly stronger Xatu, which I also one hit with Ice Beam. A really easy first league member. Koga's next, and I don't expect him to be much more difficult. Ice Beam 1 hits the Ariados and the Venomoth, despite its fire typing. Fortress is next. Surf does so much, it uses spikes, and then I knock it out on the next turn. No explosion today, that's very good. I use Ice Beam on the Muck, and then I miss twice because it used Minimize, but luckily my 4th Ice Beam takes it down. Last is Crobat. And yeah, Ice Beam's super effective, so I one-hit it. Now, if all the league members to be worried about, the next one is definitely going to be the hardest. Bruno starts with Hitmontop. It uses Dig, so it does get some damage in before I take it out. On the Hitmonlee, I get a lucky freeze with Ice Beam, and that's perfect because this thing knows High Jump Kick, which could have done so much damage to Lapras. Hitmonchan's next, it has priority Mach Punch, so it hits me twice, taking Lapras to just above half health before Bruno's Ace Machamp comes out. Okay, I think the Cross Chop is going to finish me. I go for Ice Beam, it takes the fighting type to orange health, and it uses Cross Chop. But it just misses, and as a result, Bruno uses a max potion, and I'm able to take it out over 2 more turns. Surf washes away Onix, and that's it. Okay, so that's probably the hardest league member for Lapras to deal with, but Karen can get very annoying at times, so let's see how Lapras does here. I'm doing half to the Umbreon, and it misses Sand Attack, so that's the perfect start to the fight. I one-shot the Vileplume, avoiding Stun Spore, and that means the Gengar can't Destiny Bond me. However, it does outspeed by just 5 points. It uses Curse, and then my Hidden Power knocks it out. However, Curse isn't going to do any damage to me, because I can one-hit both the Houndoom and the Murkrow. And so with that, I've made it to the Champion Lance, in what might be one of the most dominant performances in the Johto League yet. And the dominant performance really isn't going to end here because Lance is basically a flying type trainer and Lapras is an ice type. I two-shot the Gyarados, one-shot both of the Dragonites. Aerodactyl does outspeed using Rock Slide. It does a decent amount to me, but not even enough to take me below half, and then Ice Beam one-shots. I KO Lance's Ace Dragonite and the Charizard as well. So that's it. Lapras defeats the league with a time of 1 hour, 8 minutes, and 8 seconds with 3 resets at level 52. And now it's time to move on to Kanto. While I'm making the trip on the SS Aqua, I'll mention that Lapras can learn Thunderbolt through the move tutor. However, I've prioritized buying vitamins, and so I don't have enough money to purchase this move currently. After all, it costs 4,000 coins or 80,000 Pokedollars. First, I go to Erica's gym. This is an easy sweep with Ice Beam. After that, I head to Sabrina's gym, and I'm still using Body Slam here. It's not getting 1 hits, but I do manage to take the victory over her, even though the Alakazam gets a bit scary. I probably should have been using Return, but Ice Beam has been so good, and Body Slam is a great backup move, that I just kind of forgot that Return exists. After all, if you're complaining about this, clearly you don't understand how often that move gets used in Generation 2. I prioritize defeating Misty next because after I defeat her, my water-type moves get a 12.5% boost. Then I head over to Surge's gym, and you'd think that this would be challenging because he's the electric-type leader, but he's really not. I can just sweep his team with Hidden Power. I catch Snorlax, and with it comes the Leftovers, which is a very powerful item in Generation 2. Brock's an easy sweep, Blaine's an easy sweep, Janine is also an easy sweep, and with that, I've made it to Blue. First is Pidgeot. I go for Ice Beam, and it one-hits. Next, Blue sends in Alakazam. It outspeeds using Reflect, and so my Body Slam only does about a third. As a result, it hits me with Psychic for about a quarter, and then I use Ice Beam because it's a special move, and it actually gets the KO. Okay, that's good. Rhydon's next. I use Surf for 4 times damage, knocking it out in 1 turn. Blue chooses Gyarados next. and here Ice Beam is the best move. It doesn't look like it's quite doing half. However, my second hit just rolls better damage and I take it out, so he's not going to spam full restores here today. He usually does that. Next is Executor. Ice Beam 1 hits. Okay, this fight is so easy. I can't believe it. Sometimes I have to use rare candies before this fight, but nope. Lapras is just going to sweep through. It outspeeds the Arcanine and knocks it out in a single hit, and with that, I've made it all the way to the ultimate test in a Johto game. It's time to face Red. To prepare for this fight, I gave Lapras the leftovers and all of my rare candies, which was 10, so now it's level 69. Hopefully this nice level is going to be good enough for the fight. Unfortunately, Pikachu moves first. It uses Charm, lowering my attack by 2 stages, and then I knock it out with a single Surf. Espeon's next. It also moves first, sets up Reflect, and then my Body Slam does what I can only describe as pathetic damage. Like, ugh. So I'm going to have to use Ice Beam. It's doing a lot more, but Espeon gets 2 Psychics in before I knock it out, and that means I only have orange health left over for when Red sends out his Snorlax. And this thing is a beast, like I don't know how to say it. It sets up Amnesia, which means that special attacks are going to do almost no damage to it. I get a lucky critical hit with Ice Beam on the second turn, but then when I switch into using Body Slam, it's just doing like nothing, and Snorlax finishes me off as a result. Okay, let's try that again. Once again, Pikachu gets Charm before I knock it out. This time I know that the Espeon is going to go for Reflect, so I'll just prioritize using Ice Beam right away. After all, it could freeze, and that would prevent all of the damage here. It doesn't in this case. I take a Psychic, which does about a third, and then I knock it out. Snorlax comes out, leftovers heal me, and then I go for Return on the first turn, and I'm hoping that this is going to do more than a third, but it does half because it got a critical hit. However, when I don't get a crit, it does so little, like, So yeah, this is probably not going to work. Like, maybe I can stall it out by using Rest a lot, and then it runs out of Body Slam, and then I can like freeze it with Ice Beam or something like that. But in Generation 2, there is a chance to defrost, so even if I get a freeze against Snorlax, it isn't a guaranteed win at that point. What I'm really hoping for against this thing is a critical hit, and Ice Beam gets it. So I'm moving on to the Venusaur. I use Ice Beam, it survives, tries to set up Solar Beam, and then I knock it out on the next turn. Okay, I actually might be able to do this. Next is Blastoise. I go for Return, forgetting that my attack had been lowered. It does almost no damage. And at this point, I decided to use Rest so that I could heal the damage that had been done to this point. Now, Blastoise resists both Ice Beam and Surf. I decided to go for Surf. I think I should have been going for Ice Beam just in case I got a freeze. I get a lucky critical hit. It does a lot. My next Surf takes it to Orange. And then I decided to play slowly and heal again. When I wake up and start striking back, I've just got green health left, so I knock the Blastoise out and move on to the Charizard. Okay, I really just need to be able to survive a single Flamethrower. But in this case, Charizard gets a critical hit and knocks Lapras out. I actually think this crit here was the worst case scenario because my brain didn't reevaluate my strategy. Instead it said, yes, I'm gonna win next time, I just need it not to crit. As a result, I go back into the fight. This time Espeon finishes me off. I try again. This time I make it to the Snorlax, but then it traps me, and once again here I get stuck in a stall fest waiting for luck. But in this case, the Snorlax is the one that gets the luck because it crits with Body Slam and knocks Lapras out. After that loss, I decided to reevaluate my strategy against the Snorlax, and I brought Toxic in instead of Return. After all, if Charm is going to lower my attack, well, of course, in this case, it misses, so I make it to the Snorlax with my attack stat intact. Just great. However, the fact that Snorlax has Rest really negates the power of Toxic, so I'm just not able to do it, and once again, Lapras goes down, this time because of paralysis. So what I should have done was fly to Celadon City, and pick up the TM for Curse. By the way, it has to be nighttime for you to pick this up. My software automatically adjusts that for me. So now let's try Red again with this powerful move. After all, my moveset is starting to look like most Generation 2 movesets. Even Lapras was not able to resist this. I've got Curse, Rest, Return, and Surf. Unfortunately, in this battle, things do not go well for me because the Espeon gets a crit with Psychic, and because of that, it knocks me out. So yeah, great start. However, in the next fight, I do make it past it. So now let's talk about why Curse is so good. In Pokemon Crystal, Red's Snorlax is basically the best Pokemon in the game. In the Generation 1 games, there isn't really an analog to this because the Champions team is quite diverse, and some Pokemon are challenged by one team member and other Pokemon are challenged by another. I guess the closest thing to Red's Snorlax in Generation 1 might be the Champions Alakazam or Sandslash. Definitely the Alakazam if you're playing Red and Blue, but if you're playing Yellow, the Sandslash, maybe even the Magneton are just as bad. Also the Cloyster. Now that I think about it, actually the whole Champions team, except the Flareon. The Flareon's not very good. So the reason Curse is so good is because it provides a way to counter Snorlax. Snorlax can only deal damage with Body Slam and Snore, and it has Amnesia, which boosts its special defense. So essentially here, you want to be a physical attacker that can resist physical moves, and Curse solves both of these problems. With access to Rest, you can heal, and with Return, every Pokemon has access to reliable physical damage. Unfortunately, this time Body Slam crits me and Lapras goes down while I try to set up. I guess I have to try this again. I make it back to Snorlax this time. I think I should have played a little bit more conservatively with my rests here just to ensure that it didn't knock me out with a crit, because it actually does crit right after I use Rest, and it does a lot of damage. I rest again, ensuring that I move on to the rest of the fight with higher health. After all, Curse massively cut my speed. That means each one of Red's following Pokemon is going to get a chance to attack. However, for the Venusaur, it just sets up Sunny Day, and then I knock it out with Return. Blastoise is next, and it's great because Red just set up Sunny Day, meaning the power of water moves is cut. Blastoise Surf, as a result, does so little damage, and I knock it out. The leftovers heal Lapras to full health, and now it's time for the Charizard, but it is going to get a sun-boosted Flamethrower. Lapras survives with more than half health, and Return knocks the Lizard out. So Lapras clocks in with a time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 17 seconds, with 10 resets at level 69. This took 5 hours and 42 minutes of game time. By the way, my auto splitter is automatically watching the game for when a victory occurs, and then it automatically collects all these metrics. That's how I have the game time whenever I defeat Red. After all, the game doesn't show it to you. That's also why I display it on screen like this. So this performance is unfortunately significantly behind the legendary Pokemon. However, I think the fact that I just didn't figure out that I should be using Curse earlier against Red is largely to blame for Lapras's poor performance. Well, poor is relative, because Lapras did perform better than Aerodactyl and just slightly worse than Ampharos. That's a quite good result already. However, I think this thing has the chance to be truly great, so let's go into a second playthrough and see how I was able to optimize my way past all of the major hurdles. Now, when I say major hurdles, there weren't very many. Let's be real, Lapras can easily defeat Falkner under level 10. It's just not hard because of its HP stat. Bugsy is also not challenging because Body Slam just packs so much power early on in the game. Getting this move at level 15 seems broken. My first reset was against the rival in Azalea Town. I have a solution for this today, because I can just bring the Paralyzed Cure Berry into this fight and not save it for later. In most playthroughs, I'm trying to save this for Lance, because his Dragonites love to use Thunder Wave, and they can really mess Pokemon up before his final Dragonite, his Charizard, or his Aerodactyl. In this case, having the berry for this fight ensures that Lapras won't be paralyzed for the Bayleaf. This is guaranteed because the Ghastly is always a 2-hit. Bayleaf is next. To optimize my playthroughs, I use a rooting software, which is in sort of beta for Generation 2 right now. So I know that I'll always 3-hit the Bayleaf with Body Slam, and I know that both the Bayleaf is slower than me and Razorleaf can't 3-hit. That is, if it doesn't get 3 crits in a row. However, that's a rare likelihood because in Generation 2, crit rate is just a flat crit rate. So with that, Lapras takes the victory, and I'm moving on to Goldenrod City. But before that, I'm going to skip the TM for Headbutt because it just wastes time, and I'm not going to outspeed the Miltank anyways. And here, I don't have good news for all of you, but I do have good news for the algorithm, because all of you can tell me that Sing is an awful move. But in this case, it is going to be my best chance against Whitney. Let me explain why. At its current level, Lapras cannot reliably 3-shot the Miltank, and because it outspeeds me with Rollout, it's going to be able to KO me before I KO it. I thought about using Confuse Ray here to break its combo, but that's actually quite unreliable because it only has a 50% chance to break the combo on every turn. However, every turn I use it, Sing has a 55% chance to both break the combo and prevent Miltank from attacking on subsequent turns. As a result, I can use this move to put the Miltank to sleep, and then I can use Confuse Ray to further mess it up. After that, I can strike back with Body Slam. If Miltank does wake up, I'm definitely not going to use Sing again. It makes way more sense to just roll for Paralysis, which could be another way to mess the cow up. In this case, I do get it, and Lapras makes it through the fight on its first attempt. By the way, I thought about this a lot, if just attacking with Body Slam would be better to just get Paralysis, and hopefully that breaks the combo. But in the end, I really do think that prioritizing Sing is just the better way to go. I stuck with Hidden Power Ground for this fight. It makes the rival in Burn Tower completely trivial, as well as Morty. You'll notice here that I am making a slightly risky choice, which is not bringing the Mint Berry into this fight. I figured that Lapras could survive Shadow Ball and Dream Eater long enough on the Gengar to eventually wake up and knock it out with Hidden Power anyways. And I'm saving the Mint Berry specifically because I still want to fight Chuck right away. I looked through the damage ranges for this fight, and the Poliwrath doesn't have a guaranteed 2-hit with Dynamic Punch. Plus, it's probably not going to hit me 3 times, like it's going to miss a lot. With the Mint Berry, I think I can do it. Primeape does a bit of damage to me, and then Poliwrath comes out, and here I use Confuse Ray, which is the second and only time I will use this move in the playthrough. After that, I start attacking with Body Slam, which is going to take its time. In this case, Poliwrath hits itself twice, I take it down to red health, and then the Poliwrath just misses Hypnosis and goes down, so that was a really clean victory for Lapras. Next, I defeat Price so that I get the boost to my special attack and my Ice-type moves. After that, I sweep through Jasmine because she's still easy. Claire is obviously easy too, like Lapras is just actually a beast. Look at this thing. It just steamrolls the rival before the league, steamrolls its way past Will again, steamrolls its way past Koga, and then it makes it back to Bruno. So this is potentially one of the spots where I could have a reset. After all, the Hitmontop is going to get damage with Dig because I can't one-shot it with any of my moves. After that, I played a little bit too fast. I should have been using Ice Beam in this case, but I accidentally used Body Slam against the Hitmonlee and it survives, doing a lot of damage to me before it goes down. As a result of that misplay, Mach Punch takes me to 6 hit points before the Machamp comes out. So yeah, my bad play has given Lapras its first reset. Actually, it doesn't though, because I just freeze the Machamp with Ice Beam, and that allows me to knock it out over 2 turns, and then Surf one-hits the Onix. So yeah, Lapras wins anyways. It's time for Karen. Now, it might have been nice to use some rare candies before this fight, but I don't think they really matter that much because I already have a guaranteed 2-hit on the Umbreon. The unfortunate thing about Karen, though, is if you can't one-hit the Umbreon, this fight is always going to be some level of inconsistent because now my accuracy is lowered. As a result, I miss on the Gengar, and it licks me twice, paralyzing Lapras, and then curse damage knocks me out. That is a really painful reset, and I think that it is going to be my only reset in this playthrough, because after Karen, Lance is incredibly easy. In Kanto, there are no challenges for Lapras, it makes it all the way to blue without any additional resets, and remember his team last time? Yeah, it's no different this time, I just sweep through them all. At this point though, I want to bring your attention to my experience. Watch it as Lapras knocks out all of Blue's Pokemon. When I defeat the final Arcanine, I just go over the threshold to level 60, and that means with 10 rare candies, I can be level 70 for red. This is 1 level higher, but it just pushes Lapras over the damage rounding threshold to give it just a little bit more punch for the final fight. Now the obvious choice here is to go for a Curse Rest set. After getting fully set up on the Snorlax, this is basically a shoe-in now. I knocked the Venusaur out because it's not going to do anything. It did set up Sunny Day in this case, which is the worst case scenario, because now Charizard's Flamethrower is going to hit much harder. But once again, my health is really high by the time I make it to Red's final Pokemon. He uses Flamethrower, it takes me just under half health, and then my return finishes the fight. Lapras clocks in with a time of 1 hour, 25 minutes and 47 seconds, with 1 reset at level 70. This took 5 hours and 32 minutes of game time. So let's look at my Generation 2 leaderboard. Ho-Oh keeps its first slot with 1 hour, 23 minutes and 5 seconds of real time, but Lugia just barely retains its second place finish with a time of 1 hour, 25 minutes and 22 seconds. Lapras' time is only 25 seconds slower than Lugia. Also, I think it's worth to note that Lapras had 1 reset, and it finished the game 2 levels higher with 2 minutes less game time, and it only took me 2 attempts to do this. So overall, without that reset, Lapras would have earned a time that was faster than Lugia. However, I am going to keep Lugia in the slot above it, just because I played that playthrough almost a year ago, so if I played Lugia again now, I think I'd be able to shave at least 1 or 2 minutes off its time. Next week, I'm going to be doing a playthrough with Snorlax, so stay tuned for that. I think that it has the chance to get a very high placement, maybe even edge Lugia out. So I'll see you in that video. Like, subscribe, ring the chime echo, and comment because I got to read them all. If you support me on Patreon or through YouTube memberships, thank you so much. It means the world to me. If you've made it this far, you're incredible. I'll see you in my next video.